As you can see, this giant continent is Africa. And I don't know if the video is picking it up or not, but here you can see kind of in the middle is a great big green spot, and that would certainly be the Congo River Basin, which is where there's a great big rainforest. Here, of course, is the Sahara Desert, and this transition period here between the Sahara and this rainforest is called the Sahel. All right. And as we studied last time, there's a big fear that the Sahara Desert is actually spreading into the Sahel and making the Sahel now part of the Sahara. And that process is called desertification. Not what we want to talk about today, but that's kind of what we talked about last time. What we want to talk about today is the many different ethnic and religious groups that Africa has, and there are several. And they're probably going to be unfamiliar to you, so this is note-taking time. So if you would get out your notebook and let's take some notes together. Now, the difference between an ethnic group and a religious group, first of all, you have to understand. First of all, an ethnic group is something that has to do with culture. It encompasses food, it encompasses drink and music and what people have believed and shared over many years and many generations. It usually has to do with a group of people's history. Okay, so when you're talking about an ethnic group, you're talking about a group of people who believe and act and think the same way and have done so for many years, going back for many years. A religious group is a little bit more simple to define. A religious group is a group of people who believe generally the same way about God or a number of gods. So within an ethnic group, you can have several different religious groups. For instance, the Latin American or Latinos have several different religious groups within them, within that ethnic group. For instance, there's been a huge growth in the number of Protestant Christians, whereas a long time ago it used to only, most of the time, be Catholic Christians that we would find among Latin Americans. And now we're finding two different religious groups. So in Africa, we're just going to list the ethnic groups and then try to tie together the religious groups that go with them. So the ethnic groups we'll put over here. So the first ethnic group that you want to look at in Africa is the Arab. And the Arabs occupy the northern coast, mostly the northern coast of Africa. And of course, there's a great deal of Muslim influence there. And that would be the religious group. IOUS? I don't know. No idea. Good old English teacher for you. Alright, so, well, let's erase that. I'm sorry. Terribly sorry. Let's put the name of the religion, Islam. There's also Christians among the Arab Africans, so you want to put that. This is predominant. That's the big one. That's secondary, though. Then we go to Ashanti. And within the Ashanti, there are a great deal of influence with Islam. There is a Christian influence. And there's also, they also have their own sort of naturalistic religion, and they believe that all things have sort of a life force and a soul, some sort of religious significance. And let me see if I can find what that's called. Okay, so let's just say traditional Ashanti. Traditional Ashanti. Is it Arab? Ashanti. Move it on down. You know, if I'm going too fast, just pause it, and you can catch up. Then there's the Bantu. The Bantu people is a humongous ethnic group in Africa, and they have migrated from north to south in Africa several different times over several different thousand years. So the Bantu people have a great deal of influence in Africa, and because there are so many of them, and because they populate such a big area, and because they've been around for so long, once again, you have Muslim Bantu people. Same thing. Islamic Bantu people. You have Christians. And then, of course, you have sort of a pagan religion, and it's traditional, and they believe that natural objects have spirits, and that they feel a presence within rocks and trees and waterfalls and beautiful places in the forest. And these people are called, and there are many, many different of them, and that's why we're going to lowercase this, animist religions. So among the Bantu, there are many animist religions. Once again, that religion is based on nature and the beauty of nature and so forth. Okay? And then the last one is the Swahili. Swahili people have their own language. They are also a large presence on the eastern coast of Africa. Lots of Swahili people on the eastern coast of Africa. And they have among them, they're mainly, from what I can understand, they believe in same thing, like worshiping idols and stuff of that nature. They still have witch doctors, and so when you're thinking of Africa and you're thinking of witch doctors and things of that nature, Swahili is the people you're thinking of, and they're each. The reason I'm having such a hard time is because there's so many of them, and each little local village, each little local town has their own mila. I said mila. It's mila. And that is their own little belief about nature and so forth. There's also a big Muslim presence, and there is definitely a Christian influence here as well. So what do you see that draws all these people together? Well, you have, within these ethnic groups, they have their old traditional religion. Each one has their own. The Swahili people have their Mila. The Bantu people have their animist religions. The Ashanti have their traditional Ashanti religions. The Arabs are the only ones that this is their traditional religion, so it goes with them. But then among them all, you have these big world religions as well. You have the Islamic faith is a huge presence in Africa, but there's also a big Christian influence in Africa. And so, within each ethnic group, you have 3 or 4 major religious influences. And you just need to know, I think probably what you need to know as a 7th grader is the important thing is you need to be able to list the 4 big ethnic groups in Africa. And that is the Arab, the Ashanti, the Bantu, and the Swahili. And what you need to know about those ethnic groups is that all 4 ethnic groups have several different religious groups within those ethnic groups. And we'll be talking about this tomorrow and doing an activity or an assignment that has to do with the information you just learned. Thank you for your attention.